So what we have to do today, we have to get rid of this Hibernate configuration document. In the earlier videos, what we are doing the XML approach in order to configure the class with its corresponding table. So for this customer class, what is going to be the table name for these properties inside the class, what is going to be the column names, all these things we are doing here in the Hibernate mapping document. But then we start doing all these things with help of annotation and we get rid of Hibernate mapping document. But now what we also want to get rid of Hibernate configuration document. So whatever we are doing in Hibernate configuration document, there is some place where we have to configure all these codes. So all these codes we are going to mention inside HibernatUtil class. So how to do that? So let's see. We have to mention all these line of codes inside HibernatUtil class. Because what HibernatUtil class is doing internally, HibernatUtil class is configuring Hibernate configuration document. Here you can see Hibernate.cfg.xml. Hibernate.cfg.xml. Inside Hibernate.cfg.xml we have these codes. So instead of configuring it, can't we write all these things that is inside Hibernate.cfg document, Hibernate configuration document, inside HibernatUtil class? So for that, what we can do is inside static block, let everything as it is. Inside static block, we will create property class object. Properties class object, suppose PR is equal to new properties, and then with this properties object we have to use put, and here environment environment. Be aware of what package we are using, org.hibernate.cfg. So this environment comes from Hibernate, org.hibernate.cfg dot driver, and in the next argument we have to write our driver. So which is the driver? In Hibernate connection.driver class we are providing this driver fully qualified name. So right here you have to provide that it is driver. Then again in next line, using this properties object, you have to put again environment dot URL, and in URL you have to provide URL that you were providing in the Hibernate configuration. So this URL is for MySQL. If you want, you can provide for Oracle. Same PR dot put environment dot user. Inside user, as string you have to provide username, which is by default root for MySQL. In case of Oracle, that is system. You have to provide your password in next line using property object we are putting environment and password is 34. It's pass. Again in next line, environment dot, you have to now write dialect. In dialect, what you have to provide? The same thing that we are doing in Hibernate configuration document. In dialect, we are providing this thing. Just write it down here. Now we have source SQL sbm2 ddl dot auto. So for source SQL, let's do that first. Source SQL is going to be 2. Source SQL update is for sbm2 ddl auto. So environment dot sbm2 ddl auto. So that is all. There is one more thing that you have to write extra inside this when you are configuring Hibernate configuration document inside HibernatUtil class. That is, you have to write this line, which is current session context class, and write thread in it. So this is the only extra line that you have to write. Otherwise, everything is coming from Hibernate configuration document. And the next thing, for mapping class, for mapping the customer class, what we have to do? We have to use first we have to store this. This is the property class object. We put using this object property class. So for storing these all properties that we insert inside the properties object, we are going to write cfg configuration object cfg dot set properties, not property, set properties, which is pr, this object. Inside this properties object, we have used put method and inserted all these things that is coming from Hibernate configuration document, not coming from whatever we are doing in Hibernate configuration document. Now everything we have inserted in properties object, and then using configuration we set properties object and set everything up. Then again there is one more line that is left, which is mapping. We have to map the corresponding class in Hibernate configuration document. We are mapping the customer class. So also in this case, when we are doing all Hibernate configuration document thing in HibernatUtil, we have to map that customer class. For that, write cfg dot annotated class, which is customer dot class. So it is the same thing. In case of Hibernate configuration document, you are writing fully qualified name, but in the case of HibernatUtil document, we are doing it like this. So what is the next step? As you see in HibernatUtil document, HibernatUtil class, what we are doing, we are configuring Hibernate configuration document. But right now whatever is in Hibernate configuration document, we already mentioned all the things inside the Hibernate util. Then we don't have to configure Hibernate configuration document inside Hibernate util. So instead of this line of code, what we have to do is we have to create standard service builder. We have to create a standard service registry builder object. So let's see standard service registry builder object. So for that, standard service registry builder new let's create its object, and by using this standard service registry builder object, you have to apply settings. What we have to do? We have to call apply settings method with this object of standard service registry builder. So apply settings, inside which cfg.get properties, and then build it, which is going to return service registry object, service registry object SR. And then when you got this with this object SR, you have to call build session factory. Not with this SR, with CFG configuration. Call build session factory, and you have to call the method of build session factory, in which you have to pass session registry object that we created right here, not the empty one. Call the parameterized one in which we are going to pass service registry as an argument, which is going to return session factory object. In the previous example, when we are not configuring Hibernate mapping document codes inside HibernatUtil class, then we are calling the build session factory object, which is returning session factory object, but this build session factory object is not parameterized. But in this case, now we are calling this build session factory, which is parameterized, and it is taking service registry as an argument. So I think from here to here you are clear, because these are the same things that we are doing in Hibernate configuration document. But what you have to remember is these 3 lines of code. So just try to remember these 3 lines of code in order to reduce the code length and increase the readability of your codes. So just by doing this all configuration inside HibernatUtil, we are going to get rid of Hibernate configuration document. We already got rid of Hibernate mapping document. Now we are getting rid of Hibernate configuration document. So Let's close this and let's delete this Hibernate configuration document, because there is no need for that. Everything is done in HibernatUtil class. So we got our factory session factory object. We are returning session factory object with this get session factory method. So if we are going to perform CURD operation, let's delete the previous records, create the database, use the database. There is no tables. Now again, what we are doing, we are calling that HibernatUtil class, Hibernate with HibernatUtil class dot this static method get session factory, which is returning session factory, and in this factory variable we have the object of session factory. So let's see, is it going to work or not? So in this way we also got rid of our Hibernate from our Hibernate configuration document. It is giving some error, root localhost. Let's see, root is our user, what it is saying. So unable to access denied for user. Let's see, for root user we have wrong password. Just correct that, run it again, and everything is running well. So we also got rid of our Hibernate from our Hibernate configuration document. Everything is now configured in one class. Look here, we have one class in which all Hibernate internal processing are happening, and then again we are doing our CURD operations, create, read, update, delete, create, read, update, delete, and here is one customer class. So Hibernate configuration document got reduced and got embedded, you can say, inside one class HibernatUtil. So just by calling HibernatUtil we can do everything now.